If I'd had a choice, I wouldn't. I could have taken care of myself better than Social Security would have. But that's not the choice. That's not the choice.
Lucky for you.
Bottom line, promises that are made have to be promises kept. So to grow an economy, get more people working, putting into this Social Security Trust Fund, making sure that a bill like mine actually comes out of committee, is addressed, that puts a lockbox around the Social Security Trust Fund that only allows those funds to be used for Social Security or Medicare purposes. Those are the things that will give security to our so-called Social Security system. Remember, when it was established by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, it didn't cover Medicare type things. It didn't cover most of the stuff that we have now. It was to be for a supplement, just a small supplement for a person's retirement years, to add to it. It has expanded. And so now to grow the economy is the only way that we make sure that we have the resources there for me and for any of you who are on Social Security or Medicare right now or soon to be. And if we keep saying that we're just going to put money in and not deal with the things that are restricting it from growing, such as an economy.
Such as low wages.
That's the challenge that we have. And so, you know, it's been interesting that the free enterprise system in the United States worked so well for so many years. And we led the world in every area. And we led the world in economic growth, in the growth of technology, in agriculture, in industrial growth. And yet, as government, federal government especially, grows larger and larger, we have more challenges in dealing with the things that in the past were taken out of hand. And so that's my answer to how we make sure that we have Social Security for you and me when we need it, and ultimately take a look at the younger people who are coming up who aren't even employed yet, and make sure we have a system that'll work better for them in the future than what Social Security is working for us now.
So you would not support raising the cap, because many bipartisan groups have
Let's go to the next question.
Raise the cap on Social Security.
You can see we have to go by these.
Well, I understand, but this is a follow-up to that exact question.
That's not your question. Let's go on. Take a look at the rules.
I'm being respectful here. That is to the point.
Next, let's go on.
We have, sure that individuals. The next questions are on campaign finance. Susan from Ann Arbor and John from Saline. What are you doing to get big money out of politics? And will you pledge to support an amendment to the Constitution that allows Congress and legislatures to control campaign finance regulations and institute transparency rules?
Have any of you ever read McCain-Feingold? Transparency rules? I contend that's one of the problems of the amount of money that is continually pushed for when you have to show increase in level of funding because your opponent and the news media is looking at the fact of whether you are sustaining your campaign finance growth for the next election. And so we have to transparently report every quarter, and you are able to read who's contributed into it. I would love to see a setting whereby we simply reported as the money came in, and at the end of the year or the next week you could look at every item that was there and say, I appreciate the fact they've taken money from that particular individual or entity, or I don't, and then vote based on that.
Do you plan to continue to take money from the NRA?
Would you clap if you asked the question, would you continue to take money from the United Auto Workers?
Answer the question.
Would you ask that? Would you clap on that? Now, why should I will take from the NRA.
A lot of children are on your head.
Grandchildren when you take
It's not funny.
Hey, listen. The NRA has not killed one person.
They are complicit. They are complicit.
Members have.
Nicholas Cruz Nicholas Cruz, not an NRA member,
No.
killed 18 people. Killed 18 people. So the question was, will I take money from the NRA? Sure.
Why?
I'll take money from a number of entities that support what I do.
Will you support us?
I don't take.
All right,
I don't.
fine. Ditch the
I don't-
NRA, what do you support?
I don't.
What is your position?
Many NRA members in my district support me. There are thousands of NRA members that support me in my district. There are thousands of UAW workers that support me in my district.
They're not the same.
There are thousands of Ducks Unlimited people that support me. There are thousands of school teachers that support me. So
And
folks,
your gerrymandered district.
You're representing the majority of your constituents.
I think I answered my question. Let's go on to the next question.
Yeah, you answered it. Congressman, that was my question, and it got completely diverted. So,
You said, would I take money
no,
from
that was
NRA?
not my question. That somebody shouted out that question. My question was,
Wasn't that the question you asked?
no.
She read off the
No,
paper.
and the question was about, would you support an amendment to limit campaign finance so that Congress could control and the legislatures could control campaign finance and
We do
transparency.
control.
And a lot of
It is control.
no, it's not. A lot of what that's directed to. You answered part of the question, but the other part is all the money that is not directly contributed to
George
you,
Soros's money?
but the so-called dark money.
Yeah, George Soros's money.
George Soros. Although I don't know that that's going to you, but there are many organizations out there
Yeah.
who go ahead and publish all kinds of ads that we get overwhelmed with.
I know
and
your
we
question
don't- and
is.
we don't
I would
know-
support
we
that.
don't know the support.
I would
Okay,
support
great.
that.
So
I'd love to see George
articulate
Soros
that.
have to be reported. I'd love that.
Articulate that. And the Cobra.
Next
The
question.
next questions are about foreign meddling in our elections, and they're all related. So what actions are you taking to ensure a fair investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election? That was by Rachel from Dexter, but I have a whole bunch of names here with associated, similar questions. So go ahead and answer.
So the
that.
Russian investigations, fair investigations, you want to make sure that takes place. Is Mueller having a good opportunity for a fair investigation going on?
Not while the president is undermining him
No,
at
I mean,
every turn.
has the president undermined Mueller?
Yes.
Well,
With every tweet he sends.
every tweet. Every tweet. No, Mueller's investigation has gone on clearly according to Hoyle.
Yeah, 'cause they're all being
The investigations that are going on by the Intelligence Committee in both houses are going according to order.
That's bullshit.
And so we, please.
I didn't say that. That was not me. That was not
Who
me.
was it? Control yourself.
I'm very sorry. I didn't want to.
We have children. We have a young family here in the room.
You should tell us.
Oh, now you care about kids?
We have a young family. Let me stop it right here a second. Let me just stop here a second. I'm a father.
I'm a mother.
I'm a grandfather. I love kids. I protect kids. And I would not disparage you in any way, shape, or form and try to indicate that you cared any less for children simply because of a political position you have.
It's
I
not
wanna-
a
I-
political position.
I wanna-
It's humanity. These are our children.
Politics affects kids. You can't
Politics
say that.
affect kids. Everything that I've done on the Education Committee for the years has been an attempt to assist children. Everything I've done in promoting decency and order in society is to protect kids. So let's not get into a point where we're saying just because we have diverse positions on how things are to work, that I would countenance children being hurt in any way. So I would ask you to control yourself and to think about the kids that are here.
We are, that's why we're here.
Let's go on to the next question.
Okay, the next questions are on gun safety. And these were written by Rachel from Dexter. What types of legislation would you support to improve gun safety and school safety? Will you support tighter rules for licensing and background checks?
Let's try it this way. Carly, could you help me out, please? Let's have a brainstorming session. Give me some ideas on how we can protect kids in the schools better than we can now.
AR-15s.
Assault weapons. Weapons of war. Our own federal government called them weapons of war.
Now let me just stop here, and I'd appreciate if we could at least have a discussion on this one point.
We would love a discussion on that one point.
What is an AR-15?
It is a semi-automatic weapon that can be easily...
What is an AR-15? Any of you know exactly? It's a semi-automatic rifle.
Is not to get into the semantics of the gun. They still have 30 cartridge magazines in them.
The assault...
17 people in 3 minutes. That's what it did.
It's been the most popular weapon of mass destruction.
3 minutes.
An AK,
17 people.
An AK versus an AR. What's the difference?
Who cares?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It kills.
What's the difference?
It kills. Why do you want to know the difference?
Congressman.
Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Congressman, you
Thank
said
you.
you wanted to do a
All right, let's move on.
You're getting into, here's a brainstorm.
Okay, let's go right here.
So last year, you voted to repeal.
What's your idea?
My idea is to reenact the bill that you repealed that said that the SSA should no longer be allowed to put and give the information on the no-buy list for people who are not mentally sound enough to manage their finances.
There you go.
If you can't manage your checkbook, you should not be entrusted or be a responsible steward of a firearm. You voted to repeal that, sir. And if it's a mental health issue and not a gun violence issue, that seems like a big mistake.
Thank you.
Do you support the ACLU?
No, I know you're confused. I'm not an ACLU crazy. I'm an Obama crazy.
You support the ACLU?
No.
I am not a blanket
Okay, let me
supporter
look
of
this way.
everything the ACLU has said because I take things point by point.
Does
and
the
I sit there and look in the mirror and make a decision after
Sir, we're not here to
evaluating.
discuss her support. We're here to discuss what you support.
No, I'm answering.
You support.
You support as of today with what is happening. Forget your record.
Let me,
what are you going to do now?
Let me,
I don't want that.
let me
what
ask
are you
a
doing
question.
now? What are you gonna do
This is
now?
your hour.
Erase. Okay, everybody, erase what you've done in the past. What are you gonna do now?
Let's just do what are you going to do? Let's move
Now.
What are you going to do?
Let him speak.
Tell us, what are you going to do?
Let's get back to the
All right.
brainstorm. Let's get back to the brainstorm.
Seriously, can we write them up here?
Let's put the idea on the floor.
To listen to you guys, I would appreciate having some respect for
Yeah.
younger people here. That's why we're here.
I don't want to buy a bulletproof vest at a back-to-school sale.
Nope.
I respect children very, very much,
No.
and that's why this
Figure it
matters.
out.
I have a son that is mentally ill. Years ago, the psychiatrist said to us, you should have no weapons in your house for 2 reasons. One, they will use it, it's available, they can use it on themselves. That's the #1 thing that happens with a gun in the house. #2, we have issues like we have now in our schools where we have mass shootings. People that are mentally ill do not have the way of thinking that we do. My son, who is on medication, who is supported by many, many, many people, sees his doctor all the time, can have the craziest thoughts in the world from nowhere. And we do not have a gun. He does not believe in having a gun. How can we say that we let that law go, that mentally held people can be able to have a gun? That doesn't interfere with anybody's Second Amendment right.
I want to say thank you.
Let me piggyback on that.
Would you sit down?
Well, again,
sit down. Sit down.
She got to stand up.
I wanted to say to her.
Okay, but if
I wanted to say to her. I wanted to say to her. And I know a disrupt movement is here, but I want to say to you, thank you for taking care of your family and doing what was right.
Obviously, until he turns 18 and he can do whatever he wants.
37. What's going to happen when we die?
But I can tell you, what you've been told about that particular bill dealing with Social Security recipients was not accurate. And the ACLU and the National Council on Disability stood in favor of my vote. Why do they stand in favor of it? Because you can't say a blanket statement for someone who's on SSI simply because they can't deal with facts and figures for their benefits, that you take away their constitutional liberties. And the ACLU,
what about the right to live?
Council for Disability call for us to take that vote. So put that down. Prevent mentally ill from owning guns, restore the Social Security law. Next item.
How about instead of prevent? How about if
no
you
bump
put down
stocks. No bump stocks. Let's go to this lady back here.
We need to get rid of all lobbyists. Yes.
Yeah.
Number two, the big pharma is pushing these drugs.
But let's stay on this one. Let's stay on this.
Limit capacity.
Back here.
We should allow the national health. The CDC, yes.
Do studies on
women.
I couldn't hear what she said.
the Dickey Amendment. That was
She
my-
did.
What was it?
She wrote.
The Dickey Amendment, I guess, the
And
thing that the CDC cannot do.
And the national and NHI.
And NHI are banned from doing research on gun-related health issues.
Okay.
And Jay Dickey himself regretted.
Okay, what's your question?
Yeah, well, that was my whole point. I'm trying to be respectful this whole time.
Oh, you are?
You got people screaming at
You really are. Okay.
You know,
Did you have a point?
Congressman, if it makes you feel good.
Did you have a
speak to
point?
me, and yes, in a sarcastic tone, by all means, do it.
Okay.
My point of coming here today and taking my time off of work was to deliver exactly that. You have 42,000 people with the opioid crisis, which you have sponsored a bill, I believe, with Congresswoman Dingle, correct? That would allow nurses.
Several bills.
Yes, exactly. One of them is to allow nurses, if someone passes away, to allow nurses to confiscate those, opioid control, right? 40-something thousand deaths, because we want to make sure that doesn't get out into the community. The biggest issue with guns is suicide and homicides. We
Right.
know that, and this woman kind of spoke to that as well, and that's why, you know, she makes sure that there's no guns in her home. Dickey Amendment's a big thing, making sure that we can actually do some research and figure out what the issues are. I mean, it's huge. And, you know, there are veterans in every community in this country who are dying from suicide, and majority of them are from guns. That is an easy one. That doesn't restrict access. That is saving people's lives. You're a sanctity.
So we take away. You're saying you take away military guns?
If they have a mental
You said
issue.
you said they're committing suicide, so we take those away?
Voluntarily, we
If
work
they're
with them.
suicidal.
Okay.
Yes.
Next question.
Would you rather they die, sir? Would you rather they die?
No.
Then
Next
why
question.
are you trying to have a gotcha question back at?
Next question.
Background checks, no loopholes, gun shows.
Yes.
National.
Okay. Okay.
Someone with 20 calls to a sheriff shouldn't be able to pass a background check.
I
Do you
agree.
on that?
I agree.
Okay.
Next question.
Okay, we got one.
Yeah, I have a point. Stop taking money from the NRA. That's one.
Stop taking me off the Next question.
That we used to have very high traffic fatalities in this country. They researched it and looked for the problem. So they enacted required seatbelts, airbags, cracked down on drunk driving, redesigned roads to reduce car making, and required car seats. that reduced the fatalities greatly. So my question to you, like everyone else,
the answer.
would you support legislation to study the causes of gun violence? Instead of asking all of us, we can use science, data, and evidence to figure out what it is. CDC study. And it will have, I bet the fatalities will go down, just like traffic accidents.
So we should I would also ask though, because what's going to happen is they're gonna, I'm getting there. They're going to say that that's all screwed up and everything. I would also encourage the NRA to also do research, and so that we've got data that we can look at the whole, and people can't say we're just looking at parts. One thing I would love research on is good guy with gun helps out with, it gets rid of the bad guy. There's no research on that, on how many good guys with a gun have accidents and cause problems. So everybody do the research and not just spout off things that have no data behind them.
I'd like to increase the waiting period for the purchase of firearms, and so that allows for more stringent background checks before someone is able to have a weapon. It doesn't prevent them from having it, and in particular around the semi-automatic weaponry.
Okay.
I would like to see a ban on the things that make the semi-automatics more like automatics. All of those types. There's okay. But there's a few of those.
Legal except bump stocks. Yeah. Yes.
But you all fail to realize that if I'm a criminal, I'm going to get a gun and I'm going to do what I want to do.
I'm not waiting for you back.
Can I just say though, but the longer that it takes for you to figure out how to do what you need to do, the longer we have to uncover that plot. If you have to jump through hoops, then that parent has more chance to find out what their child is trying to do. Or
that hasn't proven true in other countries who have enacted the kind of gun reforms.
It doesn't have
and it doesn't go state by state.
Yes.
No.
I was a preschool teacher for 30 years, and one program we used was called Second Step, and it was teaching conflict resolution from preschool and the education in school. We need to enact this in every public and private school in this country, where kids are taught how to handle situations without becoming violent.
Okay, next question.
I would like to comment on that you cannot buy and sell guns online.
Yes.
On the list of things to look at concerning the gun issue, how about a study to determine how many lives are saved because private citizens have guns?
Okay.
Yes.
One thing I can point out to this statement here about the issue of buying guns online. Actually, there was a study done by the GAO, and it was requested by several Democrat senators to study how difficult it was to purchase illegal guns online. Out of 72 attempts, through various means, to try to get through the preventions of getting an illegal gun online, out of 72 attempts, 0 were successful.
I'm talking legal guns. It's so easy to sell a legally purchased gun to someone who you don't know it's going to, and you just ship it to them. That's what my nephews do. But my nephews have guns, and when they want to sell them, because the AR is they can get a lot of money for it, they just sell it online and nobody checks. So they just got the money. So that's what, I'm not talking illegal.
Yes.
If we can't ban the AR-15s, can we at least make it so that 18-year-olds can't buy them? They can't even buy a handgun or a beer, but they can buy an AR-15.
Okay.
Why does anyone need an assault rifle? I don't understand.
Use the correct tool for the correct job.
At home, I don't use an assault rifle.
Well, I would try to answer that, but I couldn't get the answer out, I'm sure. Yes.
Oh, come on!
We'll be quiet. We will be quiet. Let him answer.
It won't happen.
Oh no, try. Try, and if we're not quiet, you can stop.
If you believe
that AR-15.
Okay, quiet.
is no different except for the color, the pistol grip, that's it, than my hunting rifle. My hunting rifle that has a magazine, that can also, I can purchase a magazine with larger capacity. There is nothing different except the way it looks.
So that should be outlawed too.
Next question. Or next?
Questions?
Yeah, you got one.
Yeah, okay, so in 2001, September 11th, we went to, 2,700 people died. We went to war, trillion-dollar wars. We had congressional investigations. Way more people since that time have died from even just the massacres from gun violence. Why can't we treat this with the same kind of urgency in full, full all hands on deck strategy and looking at every aspect of this? The media, the guns, the medications, it all, treating it like the public health emergency it is. And I just want to say one more thing. I'm scared. I have kids and I'm scared. And I can't say that before this last week, it was kind of, even though this has been going on and in everybody's, background and peripheral, last week was the first time that in my experience, I started to fear as an educator and as a parent, I'm scared.
I'm not just at school.
What is your school that you're a teacher at? What is your school?
University of Michigan.
Okay, let's look at your kids' schools. What are they doing to prevent gun violence happening in the classroom?
They have a door lock, and that's it.
That's it.
Well, no, I'm sorry, but my kids are at Dexter School. I'm not sure where your kids are at, but those teachers are doing so much. There are bullying programs all over the place. They are trying to help with the mental health issue of these children. They are starting at such a small age.
It's been interesting.
Talking about how to be treated and how to treat others, how to make friends.
I know that, but
Okay,
we're talking
well,
about here.
that's what schools are doing. And outside of security measures, they are doing so much to help with the mental health issue. And everybody still keeps calling it a mental health issue.
I'd just like to say one more thing about the University of Michigan thing, because this is happening on university campuses too. I teach 160 students in an auditorium that's about 10 feet away from a door, that's about 30 yards away from a street. There's not a single thing that's keeping somebody from coming up with an AR-15 and killing God only knows how many.
Or a pistol.
Or a pistol, except for you can kill a lot less people with a pistol.
No, most of our gun shootings have taken place with pistols. Most of them have taken place with pistols. That's absolutely true. The largest numbers have been done with pistols.
Where's the data coming from?
With large, just the newspapers have reported on it. The pistols are what have been used primarily in shooting.
I'm sorry, I just had one more.
Okay, tell you what. We've got a good list here. I appreciate that. We're going to go on to some other issues that people have concerns.
Can I add one more to the list?
No, we're going to go on to the next question.
You called on me. You called on me, and then you answered the question.
You've been talking quite a bit, so you had your chance, didn't you?
Well, I did have my
Let's go on
The next questions are on redistricting. Sally from Ann Arbor and Lori Rogers from Whitmore Lake. Do you support redistricting by a bipartisan committee? And if not, why specifically? And Lori's was about, do you support nonpartisan redistricting?
Well, so far we've had redistricting that has taken place in the last 2 decades. Not a single challenge from either party has been given on either of those redistrictings. The only challenge that are being made are now, after the fact.
Question. Don't tell us the history of this. It has nothing to do with the question.
I'm sorry, but this is a town hall and I'm answering questions. And
yeah, no, you're not. You're not answering questions. That's the concern. If you were answering questions, I wouldn't be saying a word.
I'm not answering a question according to what you want to hear. And that's the problem.
You're just not answering.
I can't.
Who agrees with me? He's not answering the question.
It was my question and someone else's question, and thus far I'm not hearing an answer to the question. Let's see if he works his way around to it.
Thank you. Oh, you're so kind.
No, but if you don't, I'm going to hold you to it.
Good, good.
All right.
What I'm building for you is we are talking about having a special select panel that allegedly have no political background, aren't part of any party.
No.
That's the exact language.
No, it's 4 Republicans, 4 Democrats, 3 independents.
But none of them can have a past background as precinct delegates or anything else. And if you expect that to be a nonpartisan effort, when you can have a guy like Joe Schwartz as being one of those people, who now has supported every Democrat who's run against me since I defeated him. You've got to certainly allow me some concern at how that's going to work out. I think the best way to do it,
Democrats try to win?
I think the best way to do it is the way we do it, through the state legislature. The people.
So it makes sense that you have Branch County but not the cutout of Washtenaw County that would cause you to lose this seat. So that makes sense to you.
No, that was
Look at that map.
that was cut out for John Dingell. Let's make that very clear.
No,
that was cut out for John Dingell back before I came even into the sites.
He doesn't need Ann Arbor. You have Branch County instead of Ann Arbor so you can win, and that's the only reason.
That wasn't done for me.
That's what you're afraid of losing.
That was already there.
Republican.
Let's go to the next question. I think I answered your question.
I think the answer what I heard was
No.
You like it the way it's happening.
I think it's working very well the way it's happening.
It's not working. Nope.
The next questions are on infrastructure. By Linda from South Lyon. How are you going to do anything about infrastructure when there is no more money? And infrastructure, I would assume, means roads, roads and bridges.
Roads, bridges, pipelines,
electrical,
broadband, those type of things are all part of the infrastructure package. We have money for what we want to use the money for. That's the responsibility of Congress to set those priorities. We have resources to take care of our roads and bridges if we'll do that. Now, we may not be able to take care of some other things that we've siphoned road dollars off for in the past, but that has to be decision making. We have a responsibility. Number one responsibility is to defend and protect our country and its Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's a number one responsibility. Beyond that, we're to make sure that patents are protected. We're to make sure that we have an infrastructure that allows our military. That's why Eisenhower put the interstate system in, because he saw what happened in Europe when they couldn't get military supplies across the continent. And that was the reason for the interstate system. And so we have a priority to make sure that our roads, our bridges are in repair. And I think because of that, because of getting off those priorities, we've moved away from caring for that. And yes, I believe the dollars are there if we do exactly like state governments and local governments and, oh, by the way, individual citizens do with their budget. And they set the priorities and go for what's necessary first. And so I believe we can do it. We have to do it.
Congressman, do you think we're getting enough from the federal government versus the states? Because I think the split of dollars is very different than it was when Eisenhower was in office.
Still have citizens, still have tax dollars, still have local concerns. Nothing has changed. We have to set priorities. The states are going to have to step up, locals will step up, and the feds will step up.
The next question is from Cheryl and Celine. Many families in our community are living in fear of having a family member deported. What will you do to support DACA students, those who have TPS, I don't know what that means, and other people who contribute...
Temporary protected status.
Okay, who contribute to our community and are targeted for unjust treatment?
I co-sponsored the DACA bill in the House that will give away for 700,000 DACA recipients who are not criminal. We grow enough criminals in the United States already as opposed to importing them. If they're criminal, they go back. If they are citizens, they are kids that came here through no fault of their own, those 700,000 people, will find a way forward for that.
Why not just do it separately? Why not just do a DACA bill straight down the middle?
With no wall involved. Yeah.
If you agree,
Well, let me explain.
Why use them as
the American people decided in November that they wanted border security, they wanted to end the chain migration, they wanted to end the diversity visas, and they voted that way.
Neither did the majority of people in the United States.
My district voted that way, and so I'm standing with my district.
Then let it stand on its own.
Let them both stand on their own.
At that point, we didn't think
nobody. The issue was that a lot of people didn't think that this president would win.
This has nothing to do with the election.
He won. And he promised the people, he promised the people that he would secure the borders, he would end chain migration, he would end diversity visas. And he went to the Congress when he took office, he said, you know what? Barack Obama was right 17 times he said, I do not have authority. 17 times he said, I do not have authority to give any special status to these young people who were brought to the United States through no fault of their own. Congress has to do that. Ultimately, when Congress didn't get it done, there wasn't a coming together of the parties or the houses. He said, I'm going to do it myself by executive order. It's worked pretty poorly because of that. So we have 700,000 people that were given DACA status, and when President Trump took office, he said, it's time for it to be done right. Congress has till March 5th to get it done.
And then why is he keep shooting down Congress?
So why is he adding
He's interfered. He's gotten in the way. He's offered no solutions. He's just interfered.
He offered something even more than Chuck Schumer wanted. He offered 1.8 million DACA recipients.
Schumer gave him money for the wall.
And Schumer shut it down. So now we have the House that has a good plan in place. It looks like it indeed has a likelihood of passing in the not too distant future, in fact before March 5th.
Time out.
Then we have the Senate with the opportunity.
Hello.
Okay.
So are the rest of us.
What's the bill number of the bill you're proposing?
It's a good lat bill.
Yeah.
The what?
The good lat bill.
Thank you.
Let's go to the next question.
The next one's on the environment. How are you protecting the environment with all of Trump's deregulation? This is from Linda in South Lyon.
Well, in some of your newspapers, you saw an article about my standing up again, year after year, for GLRI funding, and a letter that I sent to the EPA director, asking him to come to Michigan and to see what GLRI has accomplished in our Great Lakes. Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. At Monroe County, it's huge because of Lake Erie in my district, because of invasive species all around, which is a concern to us, because of the algae bloom that's taken place. So that's one thing that in bipartisan way we've stood together very well. My record is 100% on those issues, and it will continue to be that. Next question. Thank you. Thank you.
Sharon of Ann Arbor about SNAP funding. Do you support the changes to the SNAP program as proposed in the president's budget?
Some of you have been to my town halls before. Please don't boo or hiss. But remember, the president proposes, Congress disposes. When is the last time that a presidential budget has been passed?
I didn't answer the
So you're against it?
So what are you?
I'm not finished answering a question yet. I'm asking questions and we're answering.
We answered you.
So bottom line is never. He didn't have funding for GLRI in it under one of his initial proposals. We fully funded it in Congress. He had 10% of the funding for GLRI in it this time, this proposal. We're going to fully fund it. And so a number of the other areas related to SNAP funding, related to the whole welfare to workfare issue, we're going to do our job as members of Congress to encourage people to participate in the American dream, to have a safety net, certainly, but have able-bodied, employable adults moving toward being employed, gainfully employed, carrying on independently for themselves, as opposed to having welfare assistance, nutrition assistance, all of that forever and ever. We want people to experience the American ideal. We want to have a social safety net. We will have that. But we also want to do what Bill Clinton did at the very least, and pass a welfare to workfare reform package that had great success in getting people into the environment of productivity in the United States and reducing unnecessary dollars that were expended for people who were able-bodied, who were employable, if given the chance to be educated toward that or given a little push to to say it's time to get to work.
Pay them a fair wage.
Next question.
What is your position?
That's my position.
That you are-
That's my position. We will continue funding SNAP at the necessary level, but we will continue pushing for getting more people off the need.
By raising wages?
Okay?
Okay, the next
question.
question is Julie from Whitmore Lake. In light of financial crisis in 2008 and recent Equifax breach and Wells Fargo dealings, do you think loosening Dodd-Frank regulations and defunding Consumer Protection Bureau is wise?
Yes. Next question.
Next question. From Jack and
You wanted my answer. Next question.
No, for the sake of knowing what voters want, would you support a state ballot initiative to support a U.S. amendment to overturn Citizens United?
That's up to the citizens.
Yeah, I want it.
What's your position?
Go for it. Go
What's
for
your
it.
position?
Go for it.
What's your position on
Go for
citizens?
it. I will not support an initiative. Up to the people. Let you do that.
And if the initiative
question.
comes up, how do you vote?
Next question.
Okay. The next one.
How will you vote?
Oh, I vote goodbye, Citizens
If it
United.
gets to Congress, if it gets to Congress, will you vote in favor? That's the question.
No, he's not going to propose.
I've told you my answer. I'm not proposing it. That's up to the people. Let them do it.
But if it gets to Congress, how are you gonna vote?
Next question.
Simple,
The next
yes,
question
no.
is Carolyn
No vote. There's no vote up.
Since
There
the
will be.
beginning of 2017, you've had around 40 town hall office hours. Of those, 35 have been on weekday mornings and only one on a Saturday. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says only 20% of all workers work non-traditional shifts, and are those 20% more important than the rest of your constituents?
We've had at least 2 Saturday town halls, and they've been been attended by less people generally than are here today. We do town halls at all different time periods. We do it around the 7-county area in different communities, trying to give those opportunities. We try to mix it up so there are time opportunities that everybody can attend. It'll never be perfect. We also, you need to realize why we don't give broad announcement for these.
Why is that?
Security issues.
Bring guns? AR-15s?
No.
They're scary.
Because of firebombing threats at my home. Because of threats to fellow citizens. Sadly, not from my side of the aisle. And so we have been required
Show us the data.
by the Capitol Police, Secret Service, and FBI that we follow these guidelines. I'm still number 10 out of 535 members of Congress for the number of live town hall meetings we do, not including the teletown halls we do, that number of you I'm sure have been on. So we are going to continue carrying out our process for town halls. That's how it's going to be done, for our safety, for your safety, and because of the enforcement, the law enforcement expectations.
So can guns go into your Washington offices or in the legislature? Could I carry a concealed weapon
Put an AR-15 over your shoulder right now and be here.
You could not.
You should study gun law in this country.
Can I do that?
In this
You
state.
cannot.
I cannot.
Not legally.
Okay.
Not legally. That was your question.
Yeah, that was my question. I'm still quite concerned that, there's 20% of the population at most, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that work non-traditional shifts. Yet you hold the vast majority. I'm sorry, there were 2, but one of them, I believe, was the joint one with Debbie Dingle.
That wasn't one. That's counted.
Okay.
No.
Doesn't it make more sense to hold your coffee hours at the time where you could hear from the majority, the preponderance of the majority
Or more diverse.
I mean, I know people.
I think we're doing really well on it. And we're going to continue.
Hundreds and thousands
thousands of people
Well,
that I know that are
we could be at other times, and 100,000 of people wouldn't be there as well. So let's go to the next question.
Why are you saying we won't do Saturdays?
The next question.
We do Saturdays.
You don't do. Why don't you do more Saturdays?
We've done some Saturdays when there's been very few that have shown up.
Full house.
Let's go to the next question.
Next question is,
Next question.
is from Susan in Ann Arbor.
What's the issue?
It's on infectious disease funding. Will you speak with or write Congressman Hal Rogers and ask him to set an appropriations level of $400 million to scale up U.S.-supported efforts to control and treat TB and drug-resistant TB, which is the leading cause of death in the developing world and is airborne?
Yeah, I'll be glad to talk to Hal Rogers on that issue to make sure we understand what the level of funding is necessary. I know that there's some significant funding in the President's budget that he's proposed. The Congress indeed will up it, as we've done in the past, on that tuberculosis issue. My father spent 6 months in a tuberculosis sanitarium. I know the issue.
Thank you all for coming today, and I know that...
we have another minute we can take.
You want another? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Thank you.
This one is from Carolyn and Chelsea. Which information sources would you recommend that your constituents follow to stay informed on national issues?
I would say read widely and broadly, and ultimately, I put the word ultimately in there. Trust nothing. Keep reading.
That's my question.
Keep reading.
That's my question, and I'd like to know which specific information sources.
Fox News.
If you've been, and I think you've been at one of my town hall meetings at least, you've known I've put disparaging comments out about Fox News as much as any others. I've sat in town hall, I've sat in my office at night.
About that Fox News thing. I'm not asking which.
Well, let me finish answering your question, please.
Right.
Please. That's why I say read, listen, watch widely, but trust very carefully.
And which sources
very carefully.
Are you recommending?
I'd read the Wall Street Journal. I'd read the Washington Post. Every morning I read the highlights from the Washington Post that come to my iPhone every morning. And I read there, and I see that 99% are attacking Trump, but I read them. I read the Wall Street Journal. I read Human Events. I read Standard Review. I read articles, scholarly articles from Heritage Foundation, from Americans for Prosperity. I read articles from AEI.
And which ones are you recommending?
I read Brookings Institution.
I'm asking which ones you're recommending, like, as a constituent.
Read the Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
Read the Wall Street Journal. If you're asking me just one, read the Wall Street Journal.
You can get online subscriptions to most of those periodicals for... I understand that. Yeah, so give me three. Give me top.
Wall Street Journal. Human Events. American Enterprise Institute. They don't always come down to the side of Republicans.
So you don't really want to hear the other side.
I have a follow-up, which is...
She asked me a question, I answered it. Give me applause for that, okay? Okay. Hey, I want to say thank you for you all being here. I mean, it's been a boisterous event, but that's America. But I hope we go away from here still united the fact that we're Americans. And it is the absolute best place in the world to live. It's got a constitution that we can read. It's got a constitution that causes us challenges. It causes challenges with the Second Amendment. It's there. It causes challenges with the First Amendment. It's there. Freedom of speech. But we've got to be willing to live as American citizens using the plans that are in place and not just say, I want it my way or else I'm going home. So thanks for being here. Have a great day.